viewers, and welcome back. In this video I'm going to cover the hobby drill and a technique known as pinning. I've touched on this in a previous video, however I never actually got down to showing you exactly what it was or specifically how this drill may be used in your modeling adventures. So this is just the basic Citadel Hobby Drill. It comes with a couple different packs of the little bits that come with it. They are pretty fragile, so they tend to break pretty easily. Just a quick way to show you how this thing works. It's got this little metal sleeve on the end here that comes off. You just unscrew it, and it's got this little piece inside here. It is double-sided. If you can see right there, it has the four little pieces. Basically it's split in kind of like a little plus sign, and then on the other side it's the same thing, but it's a little bit bigger to accommodate a little bit larger size drill bits than this tiny one that comes with it. It is adaptable to different size drill bits, so this one you just want to make sure you use it on the smallest side. The bit, obviously, as you can see, just kind of loosely goes in there at first. You put it down back in here, and then this cover going over it is what actually tightens it down and clamps that bit in place. So all you want to do is just make sure you got your bit to the appropriate length before you start tightening it down. Typically tightening it to as tight as you can get it by hand is good enough, and make sure that it doesn't fall off. Sometimes I'll use a pair of pliers and torque it down just a little bit more, because depending on how much pressure you push down on this thing, sometimes if you don't have it tight enough, the bit may pop back inside. Again, they are kind of flimsy, so it comes with a couple of them in case you're going to break them, because you will. I think I have one more after this one, and then I'm out. So the number one thing that I ever use this for is for drilling out barrels in the little muzzle brakes on the end of the guns, especially with the bolters here. So hopefully you'll be able to see this pretty easily. These are just some regular Chaos Space Marine bolters. As you can see here, this bolter is drilled out and this one's not. All of the guns that I personally own, the barrels are not a solid mass like this one, so it makes it a little bit more cinematic effect to your models to use the drill to drill out your barrels there, and then the little ports on the side as well. The drill, or actually I'm sorry, the bit that comes with this drill is actually the exact same size as the little ports on the side here. So once you actually drill it, it goes straight through. And then on the front of the bolter here, if you can try and get it as center as possible, it ends up leaving enough space. And again, it gives it just that little bit of extra realistic effect to it. It doesn't take very much time to do, and it makes it look a little bit better than, again, having a solid end to the barrel on your guns. It's not something that's required, but again, just makes it get that little extra touch, like you put some more time into your army. It makes you feel a little bit better about it once the project's done. One thing you do want to be careful of when you start to actually drill out the barrel here, obviously there's not a lot to hold on to. It's kind of flimsy and wobbly. I've started using like a little clip or a clamp or something to hold this, because on two different occasions I've been trying to hold the gun down, and while putting pressure on top of here, the drill bit's actually slipped off and punctured my finger. At one point I actually had to turn it in reverse to actually get it to come out. I can tell you it did not feel very good, so learning again from my mistakes, definitely get something to hold this for you, so if you do slip, worst thing that happens is you might break a drill bit instead of stabbing yourself and causing a little bit of injury, making life difficult for a while. So again, that's just a real quick, simple thing you can do with this. Another thing that, like I said, I've mentioned is the technique called pinning. Basically what that is some models out there, like a lot of the pewter models that may be a little bit bigger, the super glue doesn't like to hold them together very well. The parts are basically so heavy that it just doesn't want to stay. Some of the fine cast models have an issue if the parts are too small or flimsy. There's not enough for the glue to hold on to, and it just doesn't want to stay. So you got to kind of give it a little bit of extra support, and one of the ways that we do that is by using a little drill similar to this and some paper clips. These little small paper clips, I've got two different kinds here. You can see I got the larger ones and the small ones. The larger ones will work, but it's a very tight squeeze, and depending on how fragile the project you're working on is, you may not want to be shoving one of these in there. So you just use one of the little ones, and all we have to do to get it what we need is to just bend the paper clip out. Obviously you want it as straight a piece as possible. Make sure you have enough length for the project that you're working on. And again, the diameter of this paper clip piece is the same as this drill bit, so it ends up working out perfectly. What I have for you today is I have a Hormagaunt that has decided to snap off of his base after he's already been base coated. Typically you want to do this process before the model is even primed. That way you can cover all your work and any holes you may have made, or parts of the paper clip that might be sticking out just a little bit, or whatever issues you may run into. You don't ever want to work on stuff like this after it's painted. Sometimes you don't have a choice, so in this case, I've got to do what I've got to do. So you can see on here, I cleaned up the area a little bit. This is a slotted base, so that is plastic running down the center, which would be solid, and then the normal base piece is hollow. I do have a metal washer on the bottom for some weight, because these guys like to tip over a little bit. They're very top heavy. So I need to be able to stick this to the base and make him stay there, so when I play he's not falling off or breaking every time I touch him. So just plain super glue, there's not enough surface area there to get contact to make it stay. I guarantee you the second this gets bumped, he's going to fall over and snap off again, just as easily as he did when I just went to simply pick him up and ended up in this predicament. So what I'm going to do to fix this and give it a little bit more structure is I'm going to take my drill, I'm going to line him up with the base and in the position where I want to actually stick him down on there, and I'm going to take my drill and I'm going to go straight through his foot, straight in keep it at the same angle. I'm going to try to move it as little as possible, and then try and drill again straight down into that little strip that he's normally attached to, because it's more solid in there. It's going to give it a little bit more surface area for that paper clip to stick to instead of the hollow inside of the base. So I'm just going to go straight through his foot, straight into that base. I'm going to go all the way until I hit that metal washer at the bottom, so again I get as much strength and surface contact as possible. Once that's drilled and I've got my hole there, all I have to do is take this piece of paper clip, shove it down through the hole all the way till it stops. I'm going to squirt some super glue in the bottom there and in through the foot, and stick this all the way in there and just let it dry. Once it's dried, then I can use my clippers and cut this piece of paper clip at just the right length so that it's flush with the foot, and then once I paint over it with this little hoof piece, it's going to be black. You won't even really notice it. It's going to give him a little bit more strength to not just snap off the base again. So I'm going to try to do this with and being able to keep it in the camera so you can see it, and I'll zoom in just a little bit for you. Alright, so this is where I want him, and that's the general position. I don't want him leaning too far down or standing too far up. So I just kind of get my little center point where I want to drill on his hoof, and I'm going to try and keep that same angle and try and not move him as much as possible, so I just go straight down in there. And when you use this thing, you just want to make small turns, real slow. You're not in a rush to do this. As long as you have the bit lined up, it's going to go where it's pointed. Okay, so I punched through his foot, and I'm going down into the base now. It's kind of drawing his foot up a little bit, but at least it's at the same angle. So since I've got that started, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back his foot out a little bit. I mean, typically when you go to shove the paper clip in there, the threading for the drill bit's not going to matter. So usually I'll just try and clean out the hole a little bit, and that way when it punches out and pulls straight through, it'll be fine. So now that I've got my hole started, I don't actually need to hold him there anymore. And I'll just drill straight down into the... Oh, there we go. We've hit bottom. So I usually just give it a couple turns while it's in there, and then pull straight out, and then you just got these little plastic spirals that are stuck in the threads there. I just pull it out, and I usually just go in there just to clean out the hole a little bit more and make sure it's completely flat. So now all I need to do is take my paper clip, shove it through that hole in his foot, stick it into the base, and then again now you can see obviously the paper clip on its own isn't going to hold it, but it's through there, and then now once I glue and paint it, it's going to again have a little bit more structure to it. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my gel. I like using the gel because I can get a little bit more control out of it, and I'll put the tip exactly over the hole where I drilled, and I'll try and push it down as hard as I can and force that gel down inside the hole where the paper clip's going to go. So I'm going to set that up for the base. Obviously I'm going to need some on here as well on the outside to help hold his hoof down, and then I want some super glue in here because obviously I need that paper clip to hold him as well. So I just do the same thing, push it onto the hole of his foot and force that gel down inside there. As I push the paper clip through, it's going to push the gel with it, so it'll make sure that it gets plenty of contact areas. So just shove him all the way through, push this all the way down into the base, and then put the foot where I need it. And now I just have to hold on to it for a couple seconds, let the super glue set. And then again, I'm just going to let it sit for a while before I go ahead and clip that piece of paper clip off. So now I'm just going to let this dry. It's set basically how I wanted it. Once the super glue dries, it's probably going to create some fumes on there. It's going to be that little white frosty look over the base coat. So I may have to touch up the brown a little bit, but it's going to have, again, that structural stability that I'm looking for. Now, one of the things that you do want to be cognizant of when you're going ahead and, like when I go to clip this piece of paper clip off of here, your clippers, again, these are just the generic Citadel clippers. One side of them is flat, which would be this outer edge here. And then if you look at the inside, it's actually at an angle because obviously it has to angle in to make that sharp edge for cutting. Whenever I cut this, I want to make sure I keep that flat side towards my project or whatever I'm working on. And I'll show you what the difference looks like here. So if I were to cut this piece of paper clip here just straight in the middle, wherever. Alright, so if you look at these two edges, this is exactly how it ends up once I've just clipped it. As you can see, this one here is completely flat on the top, which is what we want, as opposed to this side, which looks like a little spear basically, and that would definitely hurt if you stabbed yourself even with that. And again, the reason for that goes back to the surface area. If you were to use this pointy end and stick it straight down in there, that's a little bit less for the super glue to grab onto. You want as much to hold as possible. So just be cognizant of which side you're clipping, or even if you end up with an edge like this on your piece, just turn your clippers over. You can get as close as possible just to snip that pointy tip off of it, and again, give yourself a little bit more for that super glue to grab onto. So as you can see, this technique can usually come in handy in a couple different places. The most common one I've ever used it on is for the pewter models that are, again, maybe a little bit too heavy for the glue to hold on their own and not ensure that they don't fall apart into a million pieces if they're dropped. Gives it a little bit of a structure, kind of like a metal skeleton, if you will. Thank you for all the likes, subscribers, comments, feedback, everything that I've gotten from you guys. I greatly appreciate it. If there's anything that you guys would like to see me do, please let me know. Sorry about the delay in between videos. I'm trying to make these videos in between work and everything else that's going on in life. Thank you again for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you.